Yeah, not at all. That was a good reminder for Matt to turn back the recording or turn the recording on.
So what's new and exciting?
Not much.
Is real estate fun? Everybody
Yeah,
having a good time?
Oh, what happened? Where'd I go?
we can still hear you and see you.
Oh, there we go.
Leave mic on. Oh, here's Lori. Don't draw on the table. Oh yeah, you gonna sit down. That's safer. Okay, well, we can go ahead and start our accountability. Mitch, you want to get us started?
Yeah, kind of just the same as yesterday. I was saying, did the open houses, working on next open house because
Awesome.
I enjoy it and I like the
Good.
in-person interaction.
Yeah.
And then just still working on trying to get that appointment. I found some stuff that's a little bit further down the road, hopefully. So I'm just gonna keep on them, and yeah, that's about it.
Good. Building up that pipeline.
Yeah.
Good. Lori, are you at work today? Are you able to talk?
I am not at work today, thank you.
Oh, nice. How's
Yeah.
business?
So I was just gonna look up some marketing websites and try to figure out, do some like neighborhood postcards, I think. And yeah, just keep doing the Facebook thing and reaching out to my contacts. So, oh,
Good, good, good. Good job. Glad you're making progress. Joe, I know you're going through that onboarding checklist and getting stuff done. How's everything going?
Pretty good. I mean, I feel like I'm just chipping away at like 50 different things and it's working. I did the disc assessment. I completed my application for Springfield. So
Good.
I'm waiting for my NERDS number.
Perfect.
I've been messing around with Command as much as I can, trying to figure out, just trying to get familiar with it and thinking about business cards, logo, all these really fundamental things that I want to get in place as soon as possible. So kind of poking around, trying to figure those things out and headshots and stuff like that.
Perfect. Well, let me know if you need help finding the logos or anything like that.
Okay, I will. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Zinnia, how's everything with you?
As far as I know, I think it's going good. But I might need help finding the logos because I didn't quite get my cards done right, so I got to redo that. But actually, I think everything's going good. I was learning about zoning today a little bit.
Awesome.
I have a client who's looking at properties or he might buy a house. I'm not sure which way he's going to go yet. So it was kind of fun because I was learning about zoning.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, perfect. Emily, how's everything with you?
Good. Did you talk to Emily?
What was that?
Did you talk to Emily Bailey?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so there's an opportunity for me to potentially, she's trying to figure it out, maybe co-list or help her do something for a fee, but I'm jumping on that with her because it's someone that lives closer to me than her.
Yeah.
And I know them, so it's
for
a good
sure.
combo. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So I'm looking forward to that.
Good. Awesome. Okay. Alexander, what about you?
Everything's going well. Working on getting my social media set up and the
Good.
website. And besides that, just talking to clients and getting the ball rolling.
Awesome. That's great. Perfect. Okay, well, without further ado, I am going to introduce our amazing instructor today, Matt Spate. Let me pull up his biography because I think he refreshed it for me. Matt Spate leads the team Spate Real Estate out of Keller Williams Sunset Corridor, an influential force in the Portland metro area real estate market since its inception in 2018. He's known for his strategic leadership and commitment to quality. Matt has distinguished both himself and his team in a competitive industry. In 2020, aiming to deepen his industry expertise, Matt took on the role of productivity coach at Keller Williams. This position enhances understanding of real estate dynamics and agent development, key factors he considers essential for real estate success. Matt's approach to real estate is shaped by a family-centric business model. Alongside his wife and business partner, Heather, they offer personalized and meticulously tailored service to their clients. Heather's sharp insight into client needs and her detail focus perfectly complement Matt's strategic vision, propelling Team Spate to consistent growth and success. Team Spate has adapted to market changes with resilience and strategic planning. His business philosophy centers on integrity, client satisfaction, and innovative marketing strategies, all of which have solidified his and his team's reputable standing in Hillsborough and surrounding areas. He's also an ALC member. So yes, he is really a great person to be learning from today about capturing leads, and I will let him take it away.
Thanks, Mara. It's great to see you again and catch up and all that fun stuff. So
Yes, thanks for not losing a toe and being here.
showing up and actually, yeah. So you get
And I
me
have
here
your
today.
ding dong sound on in case anyone comes late, because sometimes a couple people try.
Okay, that's perfect. I will do that. Go have a good. Thank you for the kind words, the introduction, and I am looking forward to teaching this class because, well, it's not quite my favorite. Always Win the Seller is my favorite, but capturing the leads is a close second. So based on the fact that this business is all about leads and how to capture leads, right? So who's ready to learn? What are you ready to learn? Anybody have any questions that you want answered for today? Don't be shy. We're going to engage. We're going to laugh. We're going to have some fun. We're going to tell some stories. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about scripts. How many people like scripts? Right? We're going to talk about changing your mindset so that everybody you talk to is a potential lead. Okay? Who's excited? Any questions? No?
Leads. Here we go.
Leads. How many people? Let's take a little bit. I want to learn a little bit about each one of you real quick. I see a lot of you are just starting in real estate, and what are your biggest challenges so far as you're getting into it? Because we're going to personalize this a little bit. I don't like to follow scripts because every script is different and there really are no scripts. Okay. So when I ask, what are the biggest challenges you have when you're talking to your clients or potential clients, or you're talking to your sphere? Keep in mind, I'm a guy that didn't get a referral from my sphere for 3 years.
For me, it's getting them to the table. I've gotten buyer reps, but then, well, this comes up or that came up, and then I'm still sitting here sending them stuff going.
Okay. So following up what they want. So the question is, how do we show value to take it to the next step? Is what I would say. That's probably a big aspect of what we're dealing with, because when the value shows up, and this is what we're going to talk about today, a lot of conversations, right? Everybody who knows, let's start off with my favorite. Everybody who knows, as you're starting out, what's the most popular question you get when somebody finds out you're in real estate?
How's real estate going?
What's the market doing?
That's the market.
Okay. Anybody want to answer that?
How's the market going? I would go to Area Pro.
Area Pro is a great tool, but the first thing I'm going to teach you in today's class, don't answer the question.
Oh.
Once you answer the question, you lose your lead. So if you answer the question and say, oh, it's a great market. We have more listings coming on the market. It's not really a seller's market. Really, in this market, the seller has one weekend to sell their house at list price or above. Everything, whatever your spiel is, don't give it to them. Ask questions. Right? So if somebody asks me, how's the market? I'm going to say, well, that depends. Are you looking to buy, sell, invest, or rent? Which one appeals to you? One, you've set yourself aside as the expert because now there's 4 different aspects of real estate, and every one of them is different. And the hard part about this, so the other thing that I left out of my bio is I taught Scripps for 3 years. Okay, this was the one that would get new agents off the fence and into production because you show yourself as the market expert. Oh, okay, well, let's take it a step further. I'm looking to sell. What can you tell me about the market? You want to be a people pleaser, right? You want to answer that question. Ask another question. Those who ask the questions control the conversation. We will get to that. What has you wanting to sell? Is it a job transfer? Because right now, everybody who's looking to move, looking to do anything in real estate is because they have to, not because they want to, right? Who wants to deal with what's your buyer's objections right now? Well, interest rates are over 7%. And let me preface this by saying this is a great conversation piece. Studying the market, studying what's going on, and having the information and tools at your fingertips, we all have access to them, right? Yeah, I'd really love to buy, but my rent is cheaper than my mortgage. Okay, tell me more about that. What's your rent? Are you in a month-to-month? Find out their situation. Are you in a month-to-month? Are you in a lease situation? Would you like to buy a house and put money in your own pocket? Right? Then we talk about building wealth, right? Home ownership is your way to build wealth. I've seen a house put 3 kids through college. Right? We can borrow against it. We can use it to buy our next house. Have somebody else pay. For as much as our housing market for buying and selling, and there's lack of inventory, our rental market is 10 times worse. Right? So I'm going to give you a lot of things today to just kind of hopefully spark your conversations in the best interest and to have better conversations to capture more leads. Okay. I want to talk about our 5 jobs in real estate. And that's before we even get into real estate. Okay. First job is going to be Scripps. Learn your dialogue. Find an accountability partner. Okay. When I got to Keller Williams, I was thankful that I knew the market, had good conversations. I listened. I was at the office literally 12 and 13 hours a day. So I could learn the lingo, learn the conversation, and I just had conversations. Well, that turned into an accountability partner who had 30 years experience. And so then I woke up an hour earlier from when I was going to, and we would do Scripps back and forth at 5:45 in the morning. Okay. At that time, this is what it took for me to become a successful agent, right? We are unemployed every single day. Every single day you wake up, you are unemployed. You've got to be able to chase your leads, right? Make that your mindset. If you don't get a lead today, you don't get paid. Okay. So we got Scripps practice, and that's simply, we do have classes, I think on Zoom, Monday through Thursday. I think it starts at 9. Okay. That's with Noah and his team. And it's a great way. I would highly suggest checking that out. Just because it's a way that they get on and they start talking about and you're going to learn something, right? It's an opportunity for you to grow. And the thing is how many people, I'm going to ask a question. How many people think they have enough knowledge to where they can get their first client right now?
I think so.
Okay. You can have the conversations. Can you help them through a transaction?
No, then
Right,
it's a
so-
negative.
So that's scary. Now, keep in mind, you've got the resources at your fingertips that will get you through anything. Okay. It's the biggest thing is the conversations. As you're getting started, I would load up on contracts and I would read the contracts. That's when somebody's going to figure out you're new, right? The old fake it till you make it aspect of things. But it's not fake it. It's as you learn, you grow. Okay. And we talk about scripts practice, and then we take those questions, right? So how's the market? It depends. Are you looking to buy, sell, invest, rent? They're all very different. Which one appeals to you? Make it whatever you want. Make it so it doesn't sound like a script. Just make it what you want. But show it could be as simple as, oh, I'm glad you asked. Which one are you looking to do? Are you looking to invest? Are you looking to rent? Are you looking to buy, sell? What are you curious about? Because they're different, right? I'm looking to sell. Ooh, is this a good market to sell? The first inclination is to prove our worth to our clients and answer the question. Don't. Ask another one. What's your current situation and why do you want to sell? You see where I'm going? I see some
Yeah.
smiles. I see some nods. Okay. This is going to change. It'll change your business. It will change your conversations. It'll make it so you can walk into a room and it doesn't matter if you know anybody or not. You'll be able to know everybody in the room by the time you're done, right? Simple spiel for selling. Sellers, you have 1 weekend to sell your house at market price or less, or more. Other than that, that's the best strategy. Other than that, you're going to leave money on the table. If you want the highest price, right, then it depends on the pricing strategy you go with. There's a lot of factors in determining what you want to do, how you want to do it. Ultimately, it's your choice. My job is to give you the most information so you can make the best decision, right? What's your timeline? Where does the timeline come in on the contracts? That's where you know your contracts. Every buyer has 4 outs once they get under contract. I'm going to spit a lot of information out really quickly because we only got 2-3 hours, maybe 4. I don't know what it is, but until we're done, until we answer all your questions. Okay. And the reality is this: every seller is a buyer. Every buyer is a seller. Right now, your number one lead generation source is what? Anybody know?
Your sphere.
My best friend.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would love a best friend who actually promoted my business when I got into it. No, that's a good friend to have. And I think the reality is this: sphere, obviously, yes. Communicating with your sphere, letting them know you're into real estate, right? What's another one? How many people here like doing open houses?
I
Because
did.
I'm gonna tell you right now, with the rules that changed in August, you guys are in a prime position to start well without all of the bad habits that were created. Okay. And open houses are going to be your number one lead source. I'm already seeing it. I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis, and I will give you an example of why I say this. I talked to a friend that has been in real estate. We got into it about the same time. We met last week, kind of frustrated over over the market and what, you know, the market, interpreting the market, what it was selling. She has a team over in Oregon City. She had 15 listings, 0 showings. 0 showings. Okay. What does that tell you?
She's not
But-
promoting it. Mhm.
Overpriced.
Or
The buyers have the upper hand.
or buyers are afraid to contact buyers agents. Buyers are afraid to contact agents until they know what they want to do. So they scout the market, they go to open houses because they don't have to sign anything. They can get market information, right? So be well equipped for market information, neighborhood information, your area pros. All of that's going to show you as the market expert. Okay. The reality that comes to play is be prepared to ask questions. An open house script. An open house script. When somebody walks in, welcome to my open house. My name is Matt. I'm the host. I don't like to hover, but feel free, walk around. I'd love to get some feedback. At the end of it, let me know what you thought of the house. Please sign in. We request that everybody signs in. I've actually added to my open houses a sign that says open house. Under it says you will be required to sign in. That takes the guesswork out of it. And that also gives them an opportunity to walk away.
Oh,
2
Okay.
questions.
Yeah.
You said the rule that changed in August.
Yeah. What
What
was the
is that?
rule? It's the
Yes.
buyer broker agreement.
Okay,
Did you
and
hear-
that's where they take the commission. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially what it comes down to now, and this is a conversation you're basically going to have with your buyers and sit down, and I would have a consultation before I work with any buyers, right? What do you guys need to, what do you want to do? And explain the rule changes. Before it was, well, sellers were going to pay, you know, the buyer's agent commission. That's not guaranteed anymore, right? Now it's the agreement that you have in place with your buyers, and that's dictated by you, not by the seller. Now, I have a different philosophy on this, right? Whereas sellers fought in court to say they were paying the buyer's agent commission based on the fact that it was coming out of their net proceeds, right? The compensation was coming out of the proceeds. My belief is who actually pays the compensation? This will change your world too.
Who actually
Is you-
pays?
The buyer.
The buyer brings the money. Without the offer, there's no money.
Right,
If there's
all the money is the buyers.
Exactly. So who's actually paying it? Look, without an offer, we're not paying anything. Once you put the listing live, do you get paid?
No.
no.
Yeah.
not until it sells.
Okay. So really it comes down to is being purposeful, right? This is where you can turn a seller into a buyer and a buyer into a seller, right? Perfect example in that when the rules changed, you have to have a buyer's broker agreement. Well, the reality is the lawsuit never would have happened if everybody was using the buyer broker agreement.
And did that agreement exist before August, or it was
Oh, yeah.
just mandated heavier?
It was in play. It's just agents didn't use it. So sellers went to court and basically said, well, we're paying the buyer and the seller, and this isn't fair, and we should get, you know, money. We shouldn't have to pay the buyer's agent commission. Well, if the buyer's agent commission is there for compensation, then the reality is like you put in every offer you put in, you're writing it into the offer. And it's being financed by your clients because they're bringing the money. Yes, it takes,
The majority of sellers still pay the full commission.
it comes out of their proceeds. Yes. It comes out of their proceeds. But if a seller doesn't, what's really changed is if a seller doesn't want to change their, if they don't want to pay a buyer's agent commission, what's the, then you as an agent get to decide whether or not you want to write an offer for your clients. And most likely, if you're not getting paid, you're not going to. So really for listings, it gives you a competitive advantage as a seller to offer to pay the buyer's agent commission. That number is completely negotiable, and that is a negotiable number now. Okay. So these are things that, because you're in it now, you don't need to, it's just this, how do we learn to talk about these things? Because these are going to be objections. How well you handle objections is going to be how many clients you get. Okay. So I don't want to pay a buyer's agent compensation. Right. And I'm kind of going off track here, but I think this is beneficial to conversations that you're going to have, because a lot of people are talking about the changes that happened in August. Right. And I think the biggest objection to it is, as well, it gives you a competitive advantage. 10% of all transactions didn't involve a real estate agent last year. Right. So 10%, you want to work with the 10% or you want to work with the 90%? Right. Give them options. But if they're not going to, here's the other thing. If they're not going to offer compensation, why take the listing? Talk to them about for sale by owner.
So
Right?
is it ethically wrong if you have a buyer to say, here's my commission, we'll ask for it for the seller to pay for it?
Absolutely. It's not ethically wrong.
Say that. It's okay
Yeah,
to say,
yeah.
oh, it's okay. Here's
say,
what I
look,
charge. We're going to try to get the seller to pay it.
And this all comes down to your buyer's agent, your agreement, your consultation. And what it comes down to is, once you find out, great, how are we paying for this? Are we financing it? What does that look like? If you choose to work with me and going forward, here's what I'm going to ask you to sign. So this agreement puts in place that we're going to work together. And yeah, we're going to work together, and then I'm going to be your agent. Okay. This fee represents what I charge for my services to help get you to the finish line, to walk you through every step of the transaction. Okay. If you want, and that's the case. Now, here's the thing, based on their financing. Now, we should have already covered their financing. We should have already covered things on this. The reality is, okay, what's your financing look like? How much down payment do you have? Do you have a reserve to cover this commission? Or we can write it into our offers as we move forward, right? There's going to be some houses that we look at that aren't going to offer a buyer's agent commission compensation. At that point, we will have a conversation and we will talk about that number, because at that point, that's where the responsibility will be theirs to cover your fee, if they can. Or we can't write an offer on this house. Okay. And I've had people walk away from offers because the sellers weren't willing to pay as much. They wanted to pay a reduced fee versus a standard, a 2.5, right? That happens. But ultimately it comes down to is do you want an offer on your house or not as a seller? If you don't pay the 2.5%, they're going to walk. There's other houses. Okay. All of these things happen. We got sidetracked on this, but I think it's very important to have this conversation and that you know what you're about to embark on. Mitch, you got a question?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna touch on it. A couple weeks ago, I went over the buyer's rep agreement with Mara just because I had an
Yep.
appointment, and
Yep.
she said a good way to explain it is, this is what I expect to get paid, but 96% of the time, still today, 96% of the time, the sellers are paying that. So she said that's
Yep.
a good way to explain it to your client,
Yes. Yeah.
because that's a pretty accurate stat.
That's a pretty accurate stat, although 66% of all stats are made up.
Yeah.
Say it. Can you say it one more time? How she said it?
You put in your compensation and you tell them, this is my fee, but still today, 96% of the time, the seller is willing to pay this fee.
And all we do is we write it into our offer.
Yeah.
Right? We write it into our offer. And I think that's important to know because the buyers bring the money. Right? Your buyers are financing it. How does it affect the value? Okay. So all of these things, all this happens that it makes a difference, but these are conversations. This is one that's prevalent in the market today. What's another objection you have? Why wouldn't you want to buy today? What's your number one objection about buying? Why people don't want to buy?
Interest
right
rates?
now? 100%. Lori, you got another one?
Oh, I've heard a few people, older people especially, who they're currently paying mortgages they, got for 3%. So why would they want to give up that just to pay 7%? I've heard that a few times now.
These are my two favorite ones. Interest rates. We talk about affordability, right? There's nothing wrong with 7%. There's nothing wrong with 6%. Anybody feel that way?
I do, because I pay 10 3/4.
Yeah. It's all about the monthly payment. It's all about the monthly budget, right? So every situation is different. And every situation that you come into, okay, let's talk about interest rates. Oh, we're not going to buy it because it's 7%, and that's just way too much. Okay, that's great. Have you ever heard of a 3-2-1 buy down? Have you ever heard of a permanent buy down? Anybody know what those are?
Yes. Would you recommend the seller do those though?
If it gets them it depends on the situation. It depends on how long the house has been on the market, right? Are they stuck at price? So what's the seller situation? Look, every house is its own story. Every house is its own market, and it really comes down to their motivation. So the motivation really comes down to is where do they want to go? How fast do they want to get there? What price point did they use? Is it a competitive situation? How long the house has been on the market? So as you're working with your buyers, remember this, right? Every seller is a buyer, every buyer is a seller. These are the things you want to tell the story. You want to tell the story to your buyers, right? At 7%, right? We can ask for a 3-2-1 buy down. Or we can ask for a permanent buy down. And what that is instead of going for a price reduction, we're going to finance it into our loan, right? So a good way to look at this as well is like payments. We look at payments for every $5,000 that your mortgage goes up, it's $31 added to your mortgage payment based on the 7% interest rate. So break it down for them, right? If you're in a competitive situation, that number can help. Like, can you afford $31 more a month to make our offer better, to compete if we need to? Because there's still competitions going on, right? So it's becoming the expert on these negotiation tactics that will actually show your worth, show your value, right? This is an opportunity market right now. List price only determines the activity. The activity determines the sale price. I can't tell you the last time I saw something sell at list price. That's an opinion. It's an opinion between a seller and a real estate agent, and you don't know which one determined the value. It depends on how well the listing agent held strong with objections. Okay. And I think the reality comes, here's the reality is we got to be equipped to handle these conversations with more questions, right? It's going to be built on the relationship between you, the listing agent, you, the buyer's agent. All of these things come into play. answer the question, ask questions. Okay, if somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, I have 3 favorite words. Tell me more. Because people love talking about themselves, and they will eventually get to the answer themselves based on what they're telling you. Right? Where do you want to go? What's your motivation? Right? Oh, I've got one now. She wants to be in Maine by July 1st. Okay, we've got to price this aggressively to get it under contract. Right? That's where list price comes into play, right? And these are conversations when we talk about capturing leads. The more you ask the questions, you give them little insights into the answers, enough that you know that they're listening to you and you become their choice. Open houses are still my favorite way to get leads. Because, and I don't care if there's 1, 2, or 3 people there, if there's one person there and I have a 45-minute conversation with them, guess what I just had? A buyer's consultation. Right? And I will tell you this, sometimes their situation may be, oh, they have an agent that they're working with. I get calls all the time, 2 and 3 weeks after an open house. Because I won't bug somebody if they say they have an agent. Ethically, I won't do that. But I'll get a call that says, you know what? I remember you from that open house, and you have more knowledge than anybody I've ever met. Okay? Become the expert. Market stats, market knowledge, Area Pro helps. You go to an open house, make sure you know the area. Your pending ratios, withdrawns, your canceled, your expireds, all of those things matter. Why? There's only one reason a house expires. Price doesn't match location and condition. Okay.
I've got an open house question for you.
What's that?
Do you ever do like weekday evenings and have success with them?
I would love to do them. And I think the general consensus here is that I would say yes, I would, but I have a 15-year-old in lacrosse. And so he takes a lot of my time on the weekdays getting in tune from practice and then so I generally stick to open houses, but I've seen it where it is successful, and especially if you're just starting a business, it's an opportunity to look, you can sit it and make phone calls at your desk all day long, or you can take 3 hours or 2 hours out of a night, 5 to 7, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, somebody's on their way home, they're going to come by an open house. You still get to lead generate, have good conversations. I would tell you there's no perfect time to do an open house other than the one you're willing to do.
Yeah.
And it's all going to depend on how you market it. Right? I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are great for open houses. Right? There's a lot of people that will stop by an open house anytime. If you got nothing to do, go do an open house at a vacant house. Set it up, plan it strategically so you can market it, get your name out there, and then people can see you're doing real estate services. Right? That's a big key as well. Okay. We talked about your 5 jobs after lead generation, whatever that is. I will get, actually, let's step back. We talked about the interest rates. Okay. Does everybody know how a 3-2-1 buy down works? That's a credit in the lending world that you ask for, let's just say a 3-2-1. Like we pushed this in 2020 and 21. Why? Because interest rates shot up. They shot up so quickly that we had to have conversations. But the reality is, in that conversation, we were looking for opportunities to lower your interest rates. And we had 2 1 buy downs, right? And that meant you went from 7% to 5%, right? In the first year. And then the next year you're at 6% with the hope that you were going to be able to refinance. Now, if you refinanced, or if you bought a house in 22 and you got a 3-2-1 buy down because the market did slow down, or let's say a 2-1 buy down, by 2024, you were looking to sell because there was no opportunity to refinance your house. It was just a bad strategy at that point. So now that their interest rates after 2 years goes up to, let's just say 6.875, or, you know, the full 7%, whatever it was, right? So the 2-1 is the second year. The first year, you're 2% lower. The next year, you're 1% lower. And then for a 3-2-1, it just extends a year. Now, how that credit, that's a credit that you have to ask the seller for, right? The seller has to give your clients a credit. If they've been on the market long enough, they will absolutely be willing to do it, even in a competitive situation. I had clients that had a $400,000 budget, and this house had been on the market for 40 days. They started at 450, they lowered it to 425, but we could afford 425 if we asked for a 3-2-1 buy down, and that would have got my clients $18,500 in credit from the seller, right? Which goes into an escrow account. How it works, I always believe in knowing how it works. That 18.5, all that is you take the difference in payment from the 7% interest rate to the 4% interest rate, right? 3-2-1 buy down. So 4% the first year. Take the difference, multiply it by 12. Take that number, that's a credit. Next one, you're doing 5%. Boom. You take that number, multiply it by 12, and then you add all three, and then the next year is a year, you know, is a 6%, or 6%, and then 7%. So it's 5, 6, 7. So you're essentially, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, fourth year it goes to 7. So you get the 3-2-1 buy down, and then it goes to 7%. So the first year is at 4%, 5%, and it made the payments from $3,300 down to $2,750. So it's all about the monthly budget. You're looking at strategies to help your clients in an opportunity market. Okay.
Matt, excuse me.
Does that make sense? Yeah, go ahead. It's a lot. Go ahead.
When you said the payment, if your interest rate is changing yearly, your payment changes as well, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so if you work with a good lender, like we mapped out, like first year it was $2,750. The next year the payment at that percentage would go to $2,930, which still fell under their budget. So it was hitting their budget, my client's budget, in that basically fourth year. They could even go to that third year and still afford it on what they were making now. We just wanted more money in their pocket.
Okay, and the credit, the 18,000 credit was coming from what?
It's coming from the seller. You asked for it in your offer.
Okay.
So we offered 425 and asked for 18,500 in credits. Now that goes into an escrow account, right? That lowers their payment because that payment is in escrow, right? That amount is in escrow, the $400 and $500 or whatever it is, right? The difference of the payment at 7% to what it was at 4%, that gets put out into, multiplied by 12, put into an account. That account, then escrow account, pays the difference in fees or in monthly payments to the mortgage, whereas your client will get a mortgage for the $2,750. They pay the $2,750. Escrow sends a check for, because they have to, that's the credit that's left, and that's what it's designated for. Gotcha. So escrow pays the difference in the 7% to the 4%. Okay. Gotcha. Now here's the fun part, and this is the key that makes this beneficial. If they have an opportunity to refinance, that money is theirs. They can put it towards the refinance. They can pull it out. That money gets, whatever's left is your client's.
Buyers.
Okay.
So it's a negotiation just between the buyer and the seller, not between the buyer and the lender. It's just the credits going towards that interest rate buy down, pretty much is what you're saying. Okay.
Yep. And so one of your biggest objections right now is the interest rate. this is a way to combat it, right? You can say we can go for a permanent buy down, or we can go for a 3-2-1 buy down, depending on what their situation is, or what their jobs are, what they want to do. All of that makes sense, but it's an opportunity. Maybe it's not a price reduction, but it's a payment reduction. And most people aren't going to stay in their place for 30 years anyway. Right?
And you've done a couple of these?
What's that? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, but here's the other thing. Whereas their budget was $400,000, which is really a competitive market. We went up to the 425. That house had been on the market for 50 days. With the credit, the payment went from 3,300 down to 2,750. That's a big difference, right? And we got a credit. But what it also did is, so they dropped 500. We increased our price point. Okay, got a house they absolutely love, right? And the monthly payment is $500 less, for example, and that payment then, and then we talk about that payment that actually increased. Well, also in this case, they got into a competitive offer situation. So we had to increase, because we weren't at list price, we increased our offer $15,000 and still asked for the credits.
With
Right?
that being
So
said,
it gives you more affordability.
but what happens after the 3rd year? I mean, can they still afford it after that?
It depends.
The buyer?
I mean, it depends, and that's the risk, and they know the risk. Those are the conversations to have. Say this is an option for an opportunity. Now, the reality is, this is where politics come into play. Was there an opportunity in the last administration to ever refinance your house at a lower rate? No, right? People expect with this administration, there may be, and I'm not sure there's going to be, but we can't designate. It's a risk they have to take. But the reality is, can you still afford? And the loan is still based on that 7%. So they still have to qualify for that loan through lending at 7%. Okay.
Oh, okay. That
So
makes
they're
sense.
covered that way. Yeah. So they're covered that way. So even if they get there in 4 years, they'll still be able to afford it. Now, a lot of things can change in 4 years. They can get promoted. They could get better paying jobs, whatever it is. There's a lot. Now, my other favorite one is.
Can I ask one more question when you have a minute?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I heard that it's better for the seller to do buy down points than reduce the house, that it's actually cheaper for him because he would have to go down quite amount to make up for that buy down.
Well, let's talk about, how do buyers look at properties? They look at $25,000 increments per the apps, right? You're using Zillow, Redfin, whatever apps they're using, they're looking in $25,000 increments. So when I have a listing, I use that to my advantage. When I have a listing, I'm talking to the seller about list price determines the activity. The activity will determine the sale price. You're not going to see me go $499 on a house. Ever. It will be $500.
Okay.
It will be $475. It will be $450. It will be $700. It will be $650. Why? People look in $25,000 increments per the apps, and so your job with a listing price is to put more eyes on it.
Okay.
If you put more eyes on it, right? It used to be you wanted to be at the top of the threshold at 500,000, but you're also telling the public that your house isn't worth $500,000 if you come in at $499. And it limits your activity, right?
That makes sense.
And that can hurt the amount of people that see it. And really what I want is a price point that's going to generate multiple offer situations, buyers that are going to come down or that are going to compete and put more eyes on it. That's my goal with a listing price, right? So if people are looking from, let's just say 475, they're looking from 450 to 475, 475 to 500, right? They're looking at that, and so you're putting more eyes on it, right? Seeing
So
the
if
numbers.
if you wanted to get 650 out of a house, you would list it at 7?
No, no. If I wanted to get 650 out of a house, I'd
Mhm.
shoot for 625.
625.
People are
625?
gonna, yeah, people are gonna compete. People compete, right? Ultimately, the market's going to determine, right? But if we can get more activity, right, that's going to create more fear, and
Okay.
then people and how bad they want the house. And once they bought it, once they get it under contract, congratulations, look what you won.
I see what you're doing. So you're creating the competition.
It's all my favorite little thing right here. Mindset, right? And they love the house more because they've competed.
So,
Right,
but
and-
what do you do if your client wanted 650 and they don't get that 650?
Then the market's told us we're not here to determine the value of their home. We're here to interpret the market.
Okay.
Right. Ultimately, we want to find a list price that's going to determine the activity. Then we're going to interpret the market. I give a high range, I give a low to high range
Mm-hmm.
on a target. I don't tell them. I give them the marketing strategies.
Okay.
And so this is win the seller, right? And right now in this market, because there's more inventory than buyers.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a 15% decrease in market value as a list price.
Okay.
And then I'm shooting for the 650 to, if 650 equates well, depending on what the comps say, actives, pendings, and solds, then we can probably try 650, but there's no guarantee that we're going to get it, right?
Okay.
We're not going to lock ourselves into what we can sell a house for, right? That's a conversation. We're just here to interpret the market. What 3 things determine the sale of the house? Price, location,
And location.
condition.
Condition. Okay.
Those 3. We can change the condition and we can change the price. We can't change the condition. All these things are going to happen. They're going to increase your knowledge. It's going to increase your conversations, right? If somebody's on a busy street, you have a listing appointment on a busy street, per an appraiser that I talked to, it's a 5% reduction right off the top. That's what they're going to say. If you're financed, it's a 5% reduction. A lot of investors will not buy homes on busy streets for that because the resale's not there. You're limiting your resale. Okay.
Can I
Now,
read
go ahead.
just what you just said so I make sure
Yeah.
I'm understanding?
Yeah.
If you have a target price of 650, you're saying you would go 625 because that would bring you more activity, more competition to get you back up to that 650.
Yeah, perfect example. Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I want to be conservative because right now all the numbers say that if you go at market value or above, you're leaving money on the table. All the numbers say that. People want to perceive a good deal. How do you perceive a good deal? Okay, we've jumped into win the seller and the Ignite class and win the seller. Zillow is used 4 times as much by the public because it's easy to navigate, right? So fundamentally, if you're in a position where you have a listing at, let's just say your client wants 575, right?
Yeah.
And before every listing appointment, you want to Google the address. Why? Because it's not just about what you can see, it's what's out there with technology. Your Zestimate, everybody knows what a Zestimate is. Everybody knows what Redfin is. Everybody knows what Realtor.com is, and they have estimates on the house based on algorithms of houses that have sold nearby. Now, you alone do a CMA as well, where you pull actives, pendings, and solds, but you're also verifying that you know what you're talking about. And what we talk about with the Zillow is fundamentally, if your client says, I want 575 for my house, right? My house should be listed at 575. It's a beautiful house. Zillow hasn't been in my house. Well, neither has anybody else, but your estimate's at 540. Let's talk about buyer's perception. You as a buyer, are you getting off the couch to go see that listing? No.
No.
Because no, it's 35,000 overpriced. Right? So we want to also, that's when we're switching a seller to a buyer. Right? You may have done all of these upgrades that Zillow hasn't seen, but the idea is list prices to determine the activity. The activity will determine the sale price. And at 575, you as a buyer, when these apps are coming in at 540 to 550, would you get off your couch to come see it? No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't.
Mm.
You fundamentally just change them into a buyer. This is how you're going to capture more leads as well. This is how people are going to refer you because you know what you're talking about. You're understanding psychology, you're understanding market trends, right? Now, my other favorite one, Lori, great question. Seller stuck mentality. You're waiting for me to get to this one, weren't you? Do I want to give up? Do I want to give up my 3% loan? No. Nobody wants to give that up unless they have to. But I literally walk into every appointment. And the first thing I ask is, do you have to sell your house? Right? This makes me, pardon my French, a crappy realtor. Because I get paid on selling houses. And my first question is do you have to sell your house? Okay, when Zillow was offering to buy houses at their Zestimates, and I would do CMAs on houses, I lost 6 listings that year because I told them to call Zillow. Would you do that if you walked into a listing appointment? Why would I do that, considering I get paid on commission? Referrals for life. If you can walk in, give them the most knowledge, sometimes it worked out where Zillow, on 6 occasions it worked out where Zillow bought their house for way more than it would have sold online. Way more than I would have ever got it to comp for. And then Zillow shut down their program because they lost, I don't know, $620 billion in one quarter because it was so far off, right? So the question is do they have to sell? Now we're going to really, this is an advanced course. We just jumped from leads to now we're giving you the advanced course, quick conversations, right? This is all about the conversations that you can have. Great. I wouldn't leave a 3% loan ever again in my life. But what's your situation? How come you called me? How come I'm here in the first place? You wanted to find out the value of your home, right? What's your current situation? Are we getting married? Or do we have kids on the way? Have we had a death? All of these things play, right? We call it the 5 Ds. Diamonds, diapers, deployment. What are the other 2? Of course, I'm on camera and I can't think of the other 2. Diamonds.
Death and divorce.
Yep, death and divorce. That's them. Good job.
Brad,
Way to go. But yes, death and divorce. And the reality is those are the people that are moving. People always have to move. And how do you get your market share? This is where the conversation starts happening as far as building wealth. Right? I had a 68-year-old client, and she said, I need to sell because I want to help my granddaughter start her equestrian dream of buying and selling horses. So she wanted stables, right? And she'd already acquired 4 horses through college, and they were paying $900 a month on stables, right? For the horses. And she's like, well, I really you know, she's going to live with us. We're going to buy a place with acreage. They're going to have, the horses can have a place and whatnot. I said, okay, well, let's have a conversation. I said, you bought on phase one of a new development, so you didn't have to do any work to the house. You are retired. Okay. What's your interest rate? Their interest rate was VA loan like 2.6. I said, what's your payment a month? $1,200. $1,200. So then I talked to her about building wealth. And I said, it's never too early to start building wealth. It's never too late. Never too late to build wealth based on the fact that at 3%, you're never going to see that again. Right? That's equity in your pocket with every payment made. So now let's talk about the extra expenses. You've got $900 payment for the horses. Your payment's going to go up in this market, and they were qualified. I think they were at like 5.8 on the qualifications, and they wanted to keep the payment around $3,000, $2,900, right? 3,000 was their top, and I said, okay. So we found a place. They lived in Dallas, Oregon, and they bought in Fall City, 579. And that house, that payment was about 2,750, 2,800, somewhere in there, in between those two. And the reality is we saved her $900 on the fees, but then she also made her house, right? She came in with less down. She rented out her house for $2,400 a month. So she put $2,100 back in her pocket. Does that make sense? This is how we have the conversations to build wealth in that seller stuck mentality. Here's the other part of that. If they want to keep it a rental, then they can. And as long as you've lived there for 2 out of 5 years, you get a tax break. You can sell it at any time. You get a $500. That's the tax code, right? The marriage capital gains, 500,000 for a married couple. Single person gets 250. They're built in there. The system is literally rigged to tell you to move every 2 years. And if you make the next house your primary, you don't need 20% down. You can get into it with 3%, with 5%. Okay, how many people are exhausted off of these conversations so far? Is it a lot?
No, I'm ecstatic. I think you're doing amazing.
Okay, all of these
Opening up
things.
brain cells.
Right, and this is going to open it up to just different conversations that you can have. Great, I can understand. I wouldn't move either if I had 3%. What I would do is talk about building wealth. Have you thought about building a portfolio? What's your objection to that? Oh, I don't want to be a landlord in Oregon. That's kind of scary, isn't it? Having somebody else pay. One, you may know somebody who's a good guy or good person, good human being that you may give a break to that's going to treat your house like yours. But when you're dealing with rentals, and every time I bring this up, the person on the other end looks at me and goes, "Oh yeah, you're right. I have rentals." And I would tell you this, the number one thing I look at when I'm looking at rentals is their cars.
Yeah.
How they keep their cars is how they're going to keep your house. If they're dialed in, great. If they got wrappers and garbage all over, you can expect a rough tenant. And yes, I'm judgy that way, but it works to the benefit of my clients. And that statement alone has got me investor clients looking for rentals based on the fact that they believe the same thing. Okay. We're on 2 out of 5 things that we do as real estate agents. Scripts, practice, lead generation. Then it's follow-up. When you haven't opened a house, how do you follow up? Are you circle prospecting? Mitch, do you circle prospect?
To be honest, I'm not even sure what that means.
Perfect. Awesome. That's why I brought it up. Circle Prospect is you have the house that you're going to, right? And you can print out door knockers, invite people to the neighborhood or from the neighborhood into an open house, right? And that aspect of it is like, hey, just, my name's Mitch. I'm with Keller Williams down the road. We've got an open house coming up tomorrow night, or whenever you're doing the open house, hit it the day before. Invite the neighbors. Why? Because everybody's curious about what's going on in their neighborhood. It's a way that you can practice CMAs as well. Are you curious about your home values? It's just having conversations with the neighbors and inviting them. If they're not home or they're not answering the door, leave a door knocker on their door. Invite them. Or do you hit the ones that say no soliciting? Absolutely. Thought you'd like to know what's going on in our neighborhood, in your neighborhood. It's your one chance to pick your neighbor. You know anybody who might want to live near you, right? All of these things, these is just, how do we engage more people? How do we have more conversations? Maybe it's picking up a dialer, right? Especially when you first start, it costs money. I wouldn't suggest starting with, I would do door knockers. Get out there on my feet, walk the neighborhood, right? As your business grows, think about a dialer, because then you can just pinpoint where the house is, call 100 people around, and it'll dial for you. You just have to answer the call and be prepared with your scripts. And that script is, hey, we're having an open house, wanted to invite you, see if you knew anybody who might be willing to possibly be your neighbor. This one's coming on the market. It's 5-bedroom, 2-bath. Address is this. Going to be out there on Saturday and Sunday. Simple conversation. You're not being salesy. You're just inviting them to their neighborhood. Create a community. How fast can you create a community? Right? I've done food trucks at open houses. Right? Think outside the box. Based on the fact that they are, it's an opportunity to get in front. You have a food truck guy who has a food truck that's willing to cook for you. Nothing goes in the house. They order outside. They make it, come in, look at the house, sign in, look at the house, tour the house, go out and get their food. Right? But no food goes in the house, liability reasons. Done that. But why is that important? What did that do? It's free marketing. Food trucks, everybody's foodies in Oregon. They love food. Food truck had 25,000 followers. And all he did is post where he was going to be. You know what the buyers didn't know? They didn't know who was there for the food or for the house. Anybody know what happened with that house?
Sold.
We got one offer at 20,000 over. And don't be that agent that writes with no other offers on the table. Don't be that listing agent that writes for 20 over when there's no need to, because there's no offer in hand. Right? If you're the first one in, always write at list price. All of these things happen. Don't do an injustice to your clients. Oh my God, we got to panic. We got a 20 over. They love the house, but they overpaid. And yes, I had to pay for the food that was bought, but we did with the 20 over, the commissions and the 20 over paid for that, paid for the difference. And when it was all said and done, we'd agreed to $7.50 a plate with a menu. And when it was all said and done, he had 3 catering events and a wedding to go to. And he dropped his price from $7.50 a plate to $2.50 a plate. Right? All these things matter. This is activity. How do we create the biggest buzz? Right? Open houses. I don't like to stall this, but I still have it on my phone. I had people on Facebook posting this. Look what's going on in my neighborhood. And of course we do that. I hit something that, Lead generation follow-up. How do you follow up with your leads? Anybody who signs up, signs into your open houses, you follow up with them the next day or Monday, depending on, but put that in your calendar. Lead generation follow-up. Have conversations, ask questions. What'd you think of the house? Yes, I know we talked about the house. Are you considering writing an offer? If you're doing an open house for somebody else, give them feedback right away. I don't think this gets stated enough because I want you guys to do open houses as a lead generation source. The minute it's over, shut the door, shoot a text to the agent because the sellers are curious. The last thing you want them to do is wait for 3 and 4 hours to get feedback on how the open house went. Okay. We talk about these are all ways that we get leads. Open houses is my favorite. There are other ways: circle prospecting, conversations, go to a library, go to a coffee store. I went to jury duty and put a sticker on the back of my computer that said, "Ask me about real estate." Right? Everybody was stuck in the same room, and I popped my computer open, and it was just a conversation. Who doesn't love talking about their house? Who doesn't love talking about look, there's an app for that. Become that expert. And the only thing stopping you right now is your limiting beliefs. Your limiting beliefs that you don't know enough. And really the biggest lead generation thing I can give you, the biggest conversation starter. Anybody want to guess what that is?
Question.
It's going to start with a question, but what question is it?
Do you want to know
And
what
it's
your
actually really,
value is?
it can be that, but it really doesn't even start with a question. It starts with a hi. Hi. Every person you run into is a potential client. They just don't know it yet. Don't be the secret agent. Can you have those conversations? Right? There's days I feel it. There's days I don't feel it. I want to go to a networking event. I want to sit back and watch everybody. We all have those moments. And it happens. But just don't make it 7 days a week. You've got to get out, put lead generation in your schedule. Right? When I first started, I'll give you some hints. I would call from 9 to 12 and I wouldn't get many answers. Right? I would then adjust and go, okay, I'm going to go 4 to 6. Right? And that's where the dangers of just calling your sphere and exhausting that lead source. You've got to have other avenues. Okay. Open houses was my favorite. It led to 17 deals my first year.
Okay. That's the route I'm trying to take. That's why I was asking about it. I've done a couple.
And
I have some coming up.
And I think open houses are going to be your way to get in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be your way to get in front, to have conversation. There are people. Look, there's 2 people that come into your open houses. Are you a seller or are you a buyer? Right? A seller is there, a potential seller, a neighbor is there to look for ideas on what the value of the neighborhood is. Become your area professional. Area Pro is amazing for that.
So you said you got 17 listings?
17 deals my first year based on open houses.
And that was you just being there hosting for another agent, or they were actually your listings, or both?
No. They were. I partnered with agents in the office, and you kind of figure out early who's got good open houses, has a lot of listings, and of course I found the one that had 3 kids and had been in the market for a little bit. Her husband was also a lender, so she had a lot of leads. And I just said, whenever you get an open house, I will take them. I will take them because I know you're busy on the weekends. You've got You don't have time for them, I'll do them. So I've actually, without instant, well, I hosted an open house for an agent, and I get there 45 minutes early and have conversations with the sellers if I can. And I ask one question to the seller if I meet them. What is it that got you to buy this house when you bought it? That shows you care on a deeper level, right? And I use that in all my listing presentations. Why? Because that's how you're going to market the house. How are you going to market the house? How are you going to do the things? I don't know if you can see this, but that's kind of an example of my open houses.
It's hard to tell it's for sale.
Yeah, I know, right? I use flags, but I don't buy them right away. I built that up to what it became, right? Start with open house signs, balloons, pinwheels, whatever to attract attention.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
I've said it 100 times in these classes, I am in the sticks, like super rural. So I have never, in the 20 plus years I've lived here, seen an open house. So to me, the marketing might be the strategy might be a little bit different. So would a flag, something like that, be better just to get their attention? Because there's not going to be, they'd never get enough traffic to do an open house, I don't think.
Well, I was gonna say main road, right? So anything that's 3 turns or less from a main road. I mean, if you're 10 miles off a main road, then that's a pretty hard open house to get any traffic through, right? If it's in a development on a main road, that's what I look for, right? And I want people to come in. What brought you here today? How'd you find me today? Was it the internet? Was it this? I probably get 3 people that were just driving around going, look, I just followed the signs. I followed the signs. Don't be afraid to use more signs.
I got some good leads, and my signs were miles away, probably like 15 or 20 miles away they started. And then I was able to, but it was a good street that people like. So it brought them in, and I got really good leads from it. I was surprised because I didn't think I was going to get anything because it was well out nowheres.
And a lot of people want that. They want that now. They want less of that. But and I think that's key. Don't be afraid, right? And how you show up. Yes, it's a little more work.
Do you?
What's that?
Do you think you could overboard it with the signs?
No, actually, the one I just showed you, so that one was a competitive situation and a probate situation with an attorney involved who lost his best friend. I'd already set up before I went into the appointment. I basically painted the picture and said, hey, this restaurant just got kicked out of the area based on the condition of their restaurant. They couldn't come to terms with the landlord. He's got a food truck. He's moved his restaurant to the east side of Portland. I want to bring him back to the neighborhood, put it in the driveway for 6 hours, 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. We're going to put it out to his 25,000 followers. We're going to put it out all over. We're going to put signs up. We're going to put flags up. It's going to be an event. And he showed up. And it's funny, it was in a popular area too. It was a great location. It was Rock Creek. He showed up and was wow. Okay, this is great. Neighbors were taking pictures and putting it on their Facebook page in the community. Look what's going on in my neighborhood. But the fact that I did this for his best friend, I became his realtor of choice for every situation that he has real estate.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to do something and come up with ideas and monies. But I would say this, I wouldn't do it right away. I would build up and reinvest back into your business over time. And it depends on the situation. There's times where I've taken that food truck the same guy and said, it's built on relationships, and said, hey, gonna have an open house this weekend. Do you want to, or in 2 weeks, do you want to bring your truck out? And he's like, yeah. Well, then I called every agent who had a listing in the neighborhood and said, hey, we're going to bring out a food truck. Maybe you can we can get more people into the neighborhood, whatnot. And it was 3 agents, all within a 2-block radius. And they all said no. But you know who showed up at my open house on Saturday? Every single one of those sellers showed up at my open house. And you know who had their houses open the next day? Every single one of those sellers and every single one of those agents were pissed because their sellers made them do an open house to piggyback the activity that we're having. And 3 of the 4 went pending. Okay. All of these things are just ideas and communications. It's also relationships that we build with not just our clients, but other real estate agents. Right? Especially if you're not in this area, not from, are we going to take care of your clients? How's it going to work? All of those things matter. Find somebody you trust that's going to take care of your clients, right? You can help everybody literally worldwide. Worldwide. You have somebody looking in Spain, you can find them an agent. You can be a part of the transaction. You can get 25%. Been there, done that. Okay. It's not just about that. Those relationships that you build, maybe from other smaller brokerages, be their agent of choice to find referral partners around the globe. Networking events, go to them. Okay. We talk about lead generation follow-up. That's just making phone calls, right? Build your downline, profit share. Don't forget about profit share. Build your downline. If you're successful, people are going to want to know how you became successful. Part of it is because of classes like this. They're going to get you thinking outside as an agent, as a real estate agent. You are now the professional real estate agents. Even though you just passed your test, you know way more than the average public, right? Get to know your contracts. Simple systems are create the systems to capture the leads. And it starts with you working on your scripts. Starts with you asking more questions. Is this a good time to buy? People, look, they don't teach this. They don't teach this in school. They don't teach this anywhere. This is why you need to become the educator of choice. You need to get in front of as many people as you can, right? When you're done with this class, I want you to be inspired. And I want you to call people like, you're never going to guess what class I just had. It was amazing. I have so much energy. I had to call somebody, right? Those things happen. It's not always, look, there's fears. We all have limiting beliefs. I have them. I'm not going to know everything, nor would I expect to know everything. But if I don't know it, I'm going to go find out. There's situations. How many people right here, right now, have somebody that's been on their mind that they need to call? That they've put it off day after day after day, and then they just figure it's been way too long. Everybody? Everybody is shaking their heads, right? Everybody has them. When we're done with this class today, I want you to pick up the phone and call them. I guarantee you they will be happy to hear from you. The limiting beliefs is that voice in your head that is telling you, they're not going to want to hear from me. It's been way too long. It's been way too long. The reality is we live in a world based on human connection. COVID has taught us, COVID did a lot of bad things for a lot of bad people, for a lot of good people, where they became isolated. And we need to reach out to these people just to say we care. You know what? I was just thinking about you. I know I haven't called you in a while, and I apologize for that. Sometimes life gets in the way, but I wanted to take the moment and just say hi. What have you been up to? How many people can do that? Your number one job is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers. I'm going to read that one more time. Your number one job is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers. That's deep. We think it's all about real estate. No. You wake up every morning unemployed. Not until you start making calls, lead generating, bringing people to you. It could be holding an event. It could be being buyer seminars. Want to make it easy on yourself? If you're good with computers and you're good with technology and marketing, bring them to you instead. Instead of spending 3 hours walking a neighborhood, put it online and offer a buyer seminar. Use the training room. Partner with a lender, an escrow officer, an insurance agent. Have them bring food. Partner with them, right? Make that your buyer's consultation. Have them sign the buyer's agreement. How many people want to work with me at the end of this presentation? Sign up. Let's make it let's have an individual conversation after this. Let's set up a consultation. Based on what you've heard today, would you sign up with me?
Yeah. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's becoming that expert. I still remember when I got, so I'll give you a little personal insight. When I got to Keller Williams, I couldn't speak in public. Never done it, never had an opportunity. Scared the Jesus out of me, right? Couldn't do it. And then I went, after 6 months at Keller Williams, I went up against our co-owner at the time, and he was teaching in class here, teaching 29 listings in 29 days. And I didn't know I went up based on a referral from Sphere. I went up against him in a listing presentation. He had Tuesday, I had Wednesday, and another agent had Thursday. And I used my listing presentation as an opportunity to get in front of them. I talked about Zillow. I talked about buyer's perception. Of course, they were already trying to sell their house on Zillow for 8 days prior to me getting to the appointment. And I said, how's that going for you? And they were fundamentally trying to sell their house at 575 when Zestimate was 540. So that's a real story. That's straight from my experience. And so I talked to them about Zillow and buyer's perception. If you have a computer over here that is $1,500 and you have another computer over here that's got the Bose system and the webcams and all the, the speaker system, whatever, all the bells and whistles, and it's $1,500, which one are you going to buy? This one. That's buyer's perception. We need buyers to perceive a good deal. So if buyers are looking at this opportunity and seeing that your house is valued, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Right? And the number one objections you get is Zillow's never been in my house. Well, neither have the buyers. The idea is to find a price that's going to get the buyers to the house so we can sell it. And that's going to be based on perception. And that became a thing. What I didn't know is after this is I answered one thing wrong. Mirror and match your client's motivation. They wanted to buy a house that was a single level in the same neighborhood as their grandkids. And so that was the motivation. That house had just dropped price to a point where they knew it was going to sell. it had been on the market a while, but it had dropped price, right? So the longer a house sits on the market, it becomes your enemy. It becomes like time on the market is a seller's enemy. The longer it sits there, the more it's stale. Okay, these are the conversations that you have to get the price that you want. That's the reality, right? So in this situation, they ask how long it would take me to get their house on the market. As a solo agent, well, as it was me and my wife, I said it would probably take 48 hours, because when I saw the house, grandkid was there sick, toys everywhere. It wasn't anywhere ready. If I'd have said 24 hours, I would have got the listing straight from the seller's mouth. Instead, she went with Craig, who was the co-owner of our company. But when he heard that I had the listing on Wednesday, they called him after I left and asked, "Talk to me about Zillow. Talk to me about." He goes, "I don't care. I'm just going to sell your house. I know how to sell your house." And but when we talked about it Monday, this is the beautiful thing about Keller Williams, is we had an opportunity to talk on Monday morning, because I congratulated him on the listing, and he figured out it was me that was there on Wednesday, and so we had a conversation. He said, "This is so brilliant. You're going to teach this." And I said, "No, I'm not. I can't speak in public. Never done it." 3 weeks later, I walked in the office and he's like, "Hey, I need you to teach Win the Seller." Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. Now's your time. And I've been teaching ever since, because I found something that I'm passionate about, that I believe in, because I've been in exactly where you guys are today. I've been where you're at, where you don't know where to start, where you can spend all day, every day, 12 hours a day working on your business. We need you to work in your business. That will come over time, right? I'm 8 years in and my systems still aren't set up. That's scary, right? But that's the reality of it. If you're working on your systems and whatnot, you're not going to be in business. The most important thing is to get your leads, is to have your conversation. Lori, how's the market?
Well, are you buying, selling, renting, or investing?
I want to buy. But you know what? I want to buy, but the interest rates are stopping me from buying.
Well,
This is good practice, and thank you for being a participant, right? So now we're going to flip the script, and I'd be like, "Great, what's your current situation now?" See, we're private investigators. We're marriage counselors. We're psychologists. We're escrow officers. We're loan officers. We wear a lot of hats. And the reality is, so what's the next question? Well, what's your current situation? What are you looking to do? Well, if interest rates were cheaper, I would probably look at buying a house. Great. Do you have money saved up? Have you talked to a lender yet? Okay. The reality comes down to is this. All we want to do in our conversations is set the appointment. So we don't need to know. Great. Perfect. I've got lenders. So right now you should be building your database with business to business referrals, right? Who gets their nails done? Who gets pedicures? Who gets manicures? Build relationships with all of these people. Walk the neighborhoods that you want to work in, and build relationships. Find electricians, find plumbers. Put out on social media like, "Hey, as I'm starting to grow my business, I want to find like-minded people like me. Who do you know that I should work with that's in general contracting, electrical, plumbing, sewers, septic systems? Who would you recommend that I get in contact with?" It's a great social media post to build engagement within your community. Okay. These are all leads, and then thank them. And then these people go into your database. I know I make it sound so easy, right? It's not.
It's not.
It's so not. It's not. And it's a thing, but it's being creative and engaging people and social media. We were talking about somebody had talked about social media posts, right? And that's a way to engage them. Who do you know that I should know? Maybe somebody's husband's out there struggling, or wife is out there, maybe I can't tell you how many referrals I've gotten from my hairdresser. There's a joke in there somewhere. Right?
Who's going to touch it?
I love it. You guys are all on your best behavior. Don't want to insult the teacher. It's all good. But it's true. Your tire company, your mechanic, all of these people are doing the same position you are, looking to grow their business. Do a business to business social media. Hey, I'd love to do a review on your business. If you could spare 15 minutes, I can ask you some questions. I'm going to put it on my page to build my community. All I ask is for you to do the same. If somebody's asking for real estate or is talking about real estate, give them my name. Love to help them. Business to business referrals are a way to go, right? We talk about being localized and community oriented. Those things matter. So we talk about follow-up. Thank them. Come from gratitude. Be helpful. Right? What just happened last week that would have been a great service call to your sphere? 100 degrees? Would have been a great time to call and say, hey, just wanted to let you know if you got AC, it's a good time to get it serviced before the hot water hits, before the weather hits, There's nothing like when it's 100 degrees and your air conditioner goes out. Let me tell you, it's happened to me. It's a good time for service. Handymen, right? People who can do work on listings before they go live. Once they go live, it has to be done with a licensed and bonded professional, right? But nothing says you can't do the work on your own before it hits the market with somebody who knows what they're talking about or doing. And it can be a lot cheaper. That's where, hey, I've got 4 friends. We're going to come over and rebuild the deck. Whatever it is, those things happen. When you are truly on the hunt for leads, there's going to be many opportunities. It's going to become a focus. You know how when you find a car that you want, all of a sudden your receptors are pointed in that direction and you see them all over the place? It's the same thing. Put your mind in the lead generation category. Put your mind in hunting for leads. Jury duty. Who would think to put a sign on that says, ask me about real estate? Okay. Don't be shy. Ask questions. Everything is about asking the questions. Control the conversation. And it's going to be, that's why scripts practice is so important. And it's direct dialogue, I think is what we call it now, because scripts is too. But look, actors don't go on TV without practicing their scripts. Right? They're a thing. If you hear somebody talking about houses in a coffee shop, I can't say, I'll have meetings in a coffee shop with my lender every 2 Wednesdays, every other Wednesday. And that's our lead generation. Because we will talk about the market. We will talk about different strategies. We will talk about interest rates. And we always pick the center of the coffee place, right? This last one, I met a real estate agent, and he's pretty brilliant. And what did we do? They had a little platform where you had to step up to get to the 2 chairs and the table. We took that table, and we just started talking, and we started joking about, hey, this is where we should host our podcast, right? To talk about the market, or to talk about maybe you build a relationship at the coffee shop that you can rent it out, have conversations, bring people in. Maybe it's not the training room, depending on your financial situation. Or maybe it's just reciprocal because they're going to get business too, right? But it's an opportunity to grow your community. It's built on relationships. Connect with the individuals. That builds rapport and trust. You ever walk into a place and you feel like I'll give you an example. Like my son plays this year, he started freshman year of lacrosse at Lincoln High School, and he's a goalie. And goalie's a lonely position to be, and so is being the parents, because you're the last line of defense, right? And based on how your kid does is how important you feel in the group. If he plays well, right? But these are my limiting beliefs. My limiting beliefs, if he plays well, then it's going to be easier to talk to people, right? And people will also come up to me and say, wow, your son's playing really well today, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he's on target today. We all have good days. We all have bad days. We all learn, right? But how you show up, if you walk in with a mindset of, I'm going to walk in and get that listing appointment, you're going to get that listing appointment, right? Knowledge is power. How many people agree with that?
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm going to add a statement to it. Knowledge is power when you do something with it.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything with it, it's nothing. Grow your business, learn, continue to show up. That is the most important thing. How many people go in the office?
I used to.
It's-
I haven't for a while.
It's such a long drive, right? It's just that maybe the office becomes your coffee shop. Getting in front of people is your number one thing. Number one thing. Getting in front of as many people as you can. Even if you're out, if you go for a walk, say hi. Pass somebody by, say hi. You may just made somebody's day. The world's changed a lot. And it's based on human connection. You know how you feel if when you have a flat tire, you have a flat tire on the side of the road, and you're the one that stops and helps them change their tire, or maybe you get them AAA or whatever to have it. How good it feels when you get back in your car. That's what you want to get to with lead generation. You want that feeling and that passion and that burst, in your heart to continue to do it day in and day out. And that's the hard part. And that brings us to time blocking. Time blocking and scheduling. It's easy to get distracted.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right? How many people get distracted?
I go in rabbit holes.
Okay. I love the honesty, right? Social media is, hey, I'm telling you, it's the worst thing to hit society. We now have become an opportunity for people to just sit behind their phones, not engage. But human connection is where it's at. The number one lead generation is to get in front of people. Go to the car wash. It sounds daunting, doesn't it? It sounds exhausting.
It is. It's not sounds. It is.
But it's also the best feeling in the world. When you connect with somebody on a different level, and you've made a difference in their life, even in that moment, Whether they call you again or not, irrelevant. You just added value to their life, right? You led them. I'll give you guys an example. We did the open house extravaganza. Okay. We had the open house extravaganza. I took somebody else's listing. I still take listings from somebody else because my listings were stale and I didn't want to sit at an open house knowing that they were stale listings. So I took somebody else's listing. And first and foremost, it was kind of fun. It was fun because I walked in and one of the realtors that had showed the property on Tuesday, this was Saturday. On Tuesday, they showed the property. They leaned against the stove, turned on the natural gas.
Mm.
And when I showed up, the entire house smelled of natural gas.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And so what do you do in that situation? So part of it is knowing what to do in that situation. How many people would know what to do?
Open all the windows.
Right? First and foremost, check to see where the leak. There was a stove, there was an oven, and there was an oven there, a stove, and a fireplace. Those were the only two natural gas things. I left the door open. I opened the garage. I called Northwest Natural Gas in an emergency. They will come check for leaks for free. And they will run tests, right, to make sure that it's safe. I still had the open house, but I had everything, every window open. The readers were reading over 10,000, or sorry, no. When it's really dangerous levels, is 10,000. We were only at like 1,400. But 10,000 is where you're looking at an explosion.
That's crazy.
Okay. All of these things happened, but I knew what to do. I kept in contact with the listing agent. She kept in contact with the owners. They were very appreciative. I didn't lock up because I wanted to air out as much. The natural gas guy is now a client looking to buy a house.
Sweet.
Right? Because he was there, we just struck up a conversation. Everybody is a potential. He's like, oh no, my wife took everything in my divorce. It's going to be a couple of years. Well, tell me about that. That had to be miserable. Oh yeah, it's like starting all over again. Great. How long have you been here? What have you been doing? All of these experience, I'm telling you, so you can learn faster, grow faster. The basis of that was he became a client. Another client, other clients that came in to the house, they were both teachers. I knew so much about real estate. They teach high school. One was an administrator at a high school, and the other was a teacher at the high school. And they asked me to come teach.
Mm-hmm. What did you teach?
What's that?
What did you teach?
Real estate. You get an opportunity to go talk about, look, we don't teach this anywhere, anybody. They don't teach this anywhere. The more people we can get in front of and educate, the more clients you're going to have. And that starts with, it's as simple as, it's as simple as this. It's as simple as, what do people know about real estate? Right? Is it easy to get into? It's one of the cheapest to get into as a real estate agent. These people are looking for careers. What's great about being a real estate agent? Anybody get into this? I was going to say freedom, schedule. It allows you to be a mom. It allows you to be a dad, to be there. Not every career does that, right? You have the autonomy. Now, eventually, when you first start, you work 24/7 and, you're at your client's beck and call because you want to grow a business. But after a while, then you settle into your own and you have hours and you have boundaries and whatnot. But the original aspect is there's just no cap on the income you can make. Right? So no cap on the income you can make. There's no limitations on what you can do. The only limitations are right here. And money is good. Money is good for the good that money can do. Something like that, whatever it is, right? If you get stuck on questions, what questions to ask? You walk into a networking event. Has anybody heard of Ford?
Which Ford? No.
It's either going to be first on race day, be 10 based on your beliefs. Is it first on race day or found on road dead? Right? And we've all heard it, but no, Ford is an acronym in lead generation, and it's ask questions about their family, ask questions about their occupation, ask questions about recreations. What do they like to do? What have they been up to? Have they taken any trips? Ask questions about their dreams. I've yet to ask a question about recreation and dreams, because once you ask a question about their occupation, they ask about real estate, because they ask me about, hey, what do you do? I'm a real estate agent. Oh, ooh, great. I've got somebody here. Let's have a conversation about real estate. Are values going up or down? We don't have to answer the question, right? Oh, why'd you ask? How long have you been in your house? People who bought in 2022 don't have equity in their house. They're going to be selling upside down right now. 2022, 23, 24. It's basically been flat. Have you thought about building wealth? How many doors can you own? Different conversations separate you apart based on the conversations that you have to get in front of people. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Walk into a barbecue where you're not going to know anybody. Maybe it's a graduation. Maybe you've got every chance I get is an opportunity to teach about real estate. Went to a graduation this weekend, and I was teaching the graduate about real estate. Her parents are clients of mine, right? She knows, she's one of my favorite kids in the whole world. And she knows she's not ready, but we had conversations about real estate. You know what? None of the kids knew about real estate. I'm going to go get an apartment. I'm going to rent. I'm going to do this. Not one of them considered buying, being able to buy, what it takes to buy. But if we educate them, we send them on a path that could potentially change their world, change their life. Do you know what it takes to get in? I've got a zero down program. If you have a job for 2 years, I've got a zero down program. I've got a lender that does zero down.
I can send you.
What's that?
I said, I got clients I could send you if you have that program.
I would say this. Are they looking up in this area? Are they looking in your area?
Roseburg.
Roseburg. So that's more your area. But here's what I would tell you. Start calling around to banks. One of the other first things that I did, see, I love how we have this conversation and things trigger in my mind as to ways I've built. One of the best things I did is I went into like Chase banks, US banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and I introduced myself. Why is that important? They have clients. They have clients that don't have real estate agents. You build a relationship with one of those mortgage guys or two of them, you're good to go. You have to use their lending program, so you get comfortable with his lending program and make each other better. one of the best guys I've ever met. He's still my preferred lender to this day. I worked with him because my client at an open house banked at Chase. And when we were done, I said, I want to meet your lender. And so I called him up and said, let's go to coffee. And I said, that was by far and away the easiest, smoothest transaction I've ever had with anyone. And we talked, and I've sold 2 of his homes. He now lives in Arizona, but he's still my preferred lender as far as he works with over 200 banks that he can work with. I also have OnPoint. I have a rep at OnPoint. They have a 0 down program, a credit union, right? So call credit unions, find out what they have for programs. Yes, you're going to pay more in monthly interest rates, but the reality comes down to is it's all about the monthly payment. The interest doesn't matter. Like, so when somebody brings up interest, I'm like, well, what's more important, the interest rate or the monthly payment? That's an easy objection. Okay. I have family show up from out of town. Thank you for all your information today. If you are in Hillsborough, about 2 hours away, so maybe I could shadow an open house sometime. I would, yeah, love it. If you're open in Portland, I will reach out. I'm going to put to everybody my number. Feel free if you ever have any questions. If you ever have any questions, then we can go here. But I will always do this because I've been in your shoes. And this is going to be my phone number for everybody. You can write it down. I'm a resource for you. I'm a resource. If you have a listing appointment and you need to get ready for it, I can get you ready for it in a half hour.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Right. And I can guarantee, well, I won't, depending on how you show up, but I can give you the tools to win in competitive situations and to be comfortable at your next listing, right? And what happens next. These things, like I said, I've been in your shoes. I know what it takes. You guys are on a journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? And the key is not to burn out. It's easy to burn out. And the key is schedule, right? So we talked about, let's go back to the five things: scripts, lead generation follow-up, set appointments, and then we're going to negotiate contracts. As we negotiate contracts, that's when we start the business of real estate, which is education, showings, and all of this other good stuff, right? The biggest thing is just getting those conversations. We talk about prospecting versus marketing. Marketing is social media. You can put whatever you want on there. Talk to your clients, introduce yourself, right? Whatever you want. I'm not a fan of social media. I prefer one-on-one, coffee shops, that type of thing. Maybe it's, everything's an opportunity. Lacrosse, I sit with a lot of parents and whatnot. And sometimes, there's times where I just want to be by myself, watch my kid play and whatnot. There's times I'm social. It's okay. Every time doesn't have to be a lead generation. It's an opportunity to have conversations. Circle prospecting is basically going through the neighborhood of an open house, going through a neighborhood where you want to work, reaching out to people. What other volunteer work? All right, charities. Focus on your key relationships. We've talked about, what are other avenues where you can build your sphere, but also business to business. maybe delivering meals to people, Meals on Wheels that need help, door-to-door canvassing, networking events, maybe setting up a booth in a park on a Saturday on a beautiful day.
How about a local restaurant?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you can build a relationship. If you know the owner to the restaurant, great. Which way are you going to meet them? Are you going to meet them face to face? Or are you going to meet them over the phone? I always prefer face to face because it's easy to hit click and then you're just wasting time. But it's entirely up to you. What I know we're almost out of time. And I wish this course was another hour, whatnot. And I didn't really show you any of the course because I talk and give you experiences and whatnot. And anybody have some ahas from today?
Yes.
Is it
I think
Xenia?
you're-
How do you pronounce your
you have
name?
a lot of ideas. Senior.
Xenia. Okay, perfect.
I seen you
So-
before.
Perfect. Well, and I appreciate the compliment too, because I want to connect. I want to connect with you guys. I know you're in, it's scary starting a business. And I would tell you this, as you start your business now, start it for what you can visualize in 5 years. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Now you have the time to set it up tax wise, all of those things. You want to be a sole proprietor. We talk about that as well, as far as that doesn't have anything with capturing, but that is picture yourself in the where do you want to be in 5 years? How many deals do you want to do a month? When I first started this job, to make what I made out there in the real world, well, I was in sales and distribution with Nestle, and my pay dropped $20,000 in 2 years. And there wasn't anything I could do. And I figured it out, said I would have to do one deal a month to make what I make to do in real estate, what I make on the outside. Now there's a lot of expenses that go with that. And eventually it was like, why was I limiting myself? Right? My belief is one, whatever your goal is, it's your goal. But write your goals down. How many you want to do a month? How many conversations do you want to have a day? Work the numbers backwards. What are ways you want to get in there? So what's your biggest aha, Senia?
Well, I I decided that I liked your idea of instead of going to a coffee shop though, my husband owns a local restaurant that's a drive-through. So I'm thinking I can just set a table there and there's a Dutch like in the same parking lot.
Okay.
So set a table, I can just start advancing on these people while they're waiting in their car.
Right. I've had it where I've paid it forward, right? Where I buy somebody's coffee, I'll give them $50 and say, however many people this can cover, I will pay for. And then I'll sit there and they come over and obviously say thank you. Conversation, why would you do this? And I said, well, I believe in helping as many people as I can. I hope whether sometimes it's brief, sometimes it's it's just being grateful. Grateful, wake up every morning being grateful, community. I mean, just if numbers say that if you come from gratitude, you can't be angry, right? And that's a thing. And how many people can we help? Whether it's in real estate or not, I'm going to try to help you because that's the kind of guy I am.
I had to help somebody start their car. You get those little black boxes at Costco and you have them charged. and their
Yeah.
car broke down. Guess what? I just pulled my little box out and I charged the car.
Yeah, perfect. They're like, why would you have this? Oh, I'm a real estate agent. I also understand that, we drive a lot of miles and I have to have a car that runs. And so I need it and I can help when I can. Beats, pulling up a car, in unsafe situation. It's just this little box. It's awesome. It's amazing. If anybody doesn't have that, it's worth every bit of the $50.
It is. Well, because it
Yeah.
keeps your phone charged and your computer charged.
True. Anybody else? Joseph, you got any ahas from today?
Yeah, I mean, quite a few, but the main one was sort of the importance of relationship with lenders and lenders
Yes.
needing. I hadn't really thought about that, and I know some lenders, and I will be reaching out. I mean, on the construction side, but even that can be helpful.
That's great.
And also, your pricing strategy.
Mhm.
I actually just had never heard that, and at least put the way that you put it, and it makes so much sense. And
Doesn't it?
and getting buyers in the door, just get the importance of getting people to look at your property, especially right now. So yeah, those two things jump out at me.
And I want you to add one more thing to that.
All right.
Those who ask the questions control the conversation.
Right.
Learn what questions to ask. Because oftentimes we fumble because we can't think of the answer or we don't know the answer. And the reality is the number one thing I want you to take away from this class is ask the questions. Dive deeper into the questions. And if you get stuck, forward. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Ask questions about their family. And there's times where I'm like, maybe I'm just not into it, but it happens. But at the same time, I always go back to Ford. Always go back to Ford. Love those. Love all of those. Hit your banks. Hit your banks. They don't have to have their NMLS number. They're all under a different aspect. They don't have to have the like if you have an actual lender at like, Guild Mortgage or other options, banks don't follow the same rules because they're under the supervision of the banks. But they're great because they have clientele that bank there that come in and apply for mortgages that don't have real estate agents. And real estate agents don't think to go into the banks and build a relationship with those people, right? Take them to lunch. Take them to lunch, have a conversation. What are you looking for? What do you need in a real estate agent? How can I best serve you if you give my name out? Do you have anybody you're working with? Right? All of those things matter. Mitch, how about you? What's your biggest aha?
I just think that like I relate to a lot of the things you were saying, like you would rather do the in-person than over the phone. I'm the same way. I want that, and that's why I'm chasing the open houses, because I like that in-person interaction rather than calling someone, So just a lot of those things, and I think this was the best class we've had so far also, but just with you going off script and sharing some personal things that have worked for you and that
Thank you for that.
It was great.
I think, well, and thank you. That's like the biggest compliment. And this is why I continue to do this, is because we have all of I flipped 9 pages out of the script, out of the thing. And the reality is yes, we've all heard these things, but the reality is I want you to be able to relate. Every time that I teach, I go back to when I was you. What it felt like to be in your shoes. And remember the first time you bought your house, or what stops you from buying your house, or whatever your situation is. Right? This is a new beginning, it's a new chapter. This is your book. You get to write it. Brendan, thank you. I know we didn't get a chance to talk much, but I hope you enjoyed. Alexander, your biggest aha.
Yeah, I mean, the whole class has been fantastic. Really learned a lot, and thank you for that. Can you do me a favor and just run through briefly the 3, 2, 1 buyback or
Buy
buy
down?
down again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
kind of like break it down, like what the 3, 2, 1, and how I can use that as more part of the negotiation if necessary.
And what it can do is also increase their price point from like say 400 to 425.
Okay.
Right? It gives you more affordability because it's about the monthly payment. Right. So
Okay.
when somebody's biggest objection is let's go from the conversation starter. My biggest, oh no, I'm not getting into a 7%, loan right now. That just wouldn't make much sense. Well, what if I were to tell you this is an opportunity market? What do you mean by that? Right? Every house is its own story. We like to put the market in its own entity, but it's not. And I want you guys to start thinking of this too, right? Every house is its own story. It starts with how long it's been on the market. Time on the market is the enemy. That's where you're going to have the longer it sits, the more you have an opportunity to come down. Because at the same time, what is the listing agent trying to do? They're trying to bring back activity to the house. They have to bring back activity, so they lower the price. Once they lower the price, then activity comes back. You might get yourself put back in a multiple offer situation. So time on the market, I usually like to look at about 15 days to where we can, and I'll go up 25 grand above their budget to look and have an opportunity for buy downs.
Okay.
Right? Because generally it's definitely credit that the seller has to do. And I think that has to give you in the negotiations. And what happens is what it is when 3 means the interest rate goes down 3% the first year.
Okay.
So from 7% it goes to 4%. Okay. From the next year it goes to 5%. That's the 2.
Okay.
So 3, 2, 1 is the years, and then the next year is 1% lower than the 7%. And then after the 4th year, you get to the 7%. So
Okay.
4 years is a long time, and hopefully somebody they're making more money. Maybe they're doing, maybe they've changed jobs, got a promotion. There's a lot of things that can change in 4 years.
That's for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that money that comes off goes into an escrow account, and the difference in payment. So the payment at 7%, you take the payment at 4%, say it's $550. You multiply that by 12, that gets put into an escrow account, and then the escrow account will pay the $550 every month. You pay your $27.50 based on the credit that the seller gave you.
Right. Okay.
I was gonna ask what the credit is. The credit is paying the escrow company so they can pay that difference.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
words. Yeah. So it's basically asking for 18,500 in, I call them buy down points, which is interest rate points, right? It's just a difference of how you want to word it, to buy down interest rate.
Well, the
Yeah.
lenders, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're totally fine. What?
On the lending side of that, do most
Uh-huh.
lenders, is that something they need to participate in, or do they not care because the money's just getting peeled off the sale price? Or is
Yeah,
is
well,
or
in
is it a
each
product that you need your lender to cooperate with?
Well, in every situation, it's like the lenders know the ins and outs of it,
Okay.
right? If we're trying, right, and here's the thing that you work in, with the lender at the same time, right? And you're asking the questions. Hey, in this case, I know there's certain instances where houses sit on the market a longer time. Maybe we can get them, something that's a better house, get some buy down points because it's been on the market a while. Where would they fit into the 3-2-1 system or a permanent buy down, right? And what that is. But that permanent buy down is going to be a big chunk of change because maybe it's a 2% drop. Because then they're keeping the money over time. Hey, if it's a 30-year loan, you're taking, 300 times, 12, and then multiplying that by 30 years, that type of thing. And that money becomes a little tougher to do. But the 3-2-1, there's always an opportunity. And the biggest thing is whatever's left when they do refinance, then that money goes to your clients as well. They can use it to buy down They can use it in their refinance. They can use it towards the loan, which I would do, right? Because when you refinance, it's going to cost money anyway. And that money's already been there. Use it to refinance, get a cheaper payment, permanent cheaper payment. Does that help? But ultimately, it comes down to the relationships that you build. And it's okay to call up a lender and say, oh man, I'm starting out in real estate and would love to have your conversation. And this is all about relationships that you build, right? So do that. If you have a client that has, like I've met Mitch, you like to do open houses, so do I. The reality is that I've met plenty of lenders that I've never had contact with based on having the conversation from an open house. I had one lady, she was going to 10 open houses to find an agent. And we had a great conversation and whatnot. Did I wait till Monday to call her back? No. I called her back on Sunday morning and just said, hey, you know what? You piqued my interest yesterday and I wanted to call. I know you were looking at a lot of houses. Wondered if you found anything you liked and if you'd found an agent to work with. Yeah, I did. And he just called me. That's how important follow-up is. Right? I've had somebody that had an agent. They were in a process. And here's the other thing. Why is lending important? Lending is important because, and I think it's funny because lenders should be the ones giving the referrals. You shouldn't be giving the referrals to the lender because the first step in the home buying process is to find the lender. But I have a rule, and I think this is just important. And I'm sorry I just thought of this. The first guy when I got into real estate was an in-house lender at the company that I worked at, and I was very comfortable. He taught classes and talked to us, and we built relationships and whatnot. And every transaction that I had for a buyer, he got. Right, so it was like 15 transactions of people that I met at open houses and said, "Call this guy. He's fantastic. He's going to take care of you." Boom, then we're working together. Very comfortable, very great. The biggest thing is there were no surprises. I got the closing table, looked like a rock star. He knew the process in and out. He had experience, all of these things that made me look like a rock star. There were no surprises. But in the 15 years, he was also working with other agents, so he never gave me a referral. Okay, this is reciprocal. So my rule is for every four that I give you, or every 3 that I give you, you're not getting the 4th one until I get one. And it's okay to put that down. Set your boundaries. Set your boundaries with who you work with, right?
You're saying to make that expectation known at the beginning of the relationship, right?
Yep. This is reciprocal, right? And now at first I didn't know this because, my first guy, I gave him 15 referrals. I got 0. Right. But as I got more experience and whatnot and learned more about real estate, I was like, oh, wait a minute. And at that point, he and I had a conversation. And I said, hey, I've sent you a lot of business. You've never once sent me anything. I'm not sending you another one until, you send me one. So it's up to him. He's still my VA expert guy. Like he's a former vet, former everything, and he will do things he's done things for my clients as kind of his repayment, where my clients have used other VA lenders who don't know what they're talking about. And they don't have the papers to get the loan, to get it through. And he's been on the phone with my clients because the lender they chose doesn't know what they're doing. He's been up at 2 a.m. calling my clients, getting the paperwork that they needed for a deal he has nothing to do with. That's also acceptable, right? It's the relationships that you build. And I think that's fantastic. It's fantastic for him. It's fantastic for me. And he is my VA specialist because he knows the ins and outs. He's a former vet, and he believes in no vets left behind.
My first appointment after I got licensed was golf with a lender. So that was cool. We hit it off.
I love it. Right. And I think that's kind of the key, right? Find like-minded interests, right? I'll tell you, I can already tell you're a Rams fan.
Yep.
You're a football fan, right? So
And I'm
those
coaching baseball.
are you?
Love
Okay,
sports,
so
yeah.
you're active. So use those, right? Use the community as you coach as referral aspects, whether it's the parents.
Mhm.
Like I coach T-ball. Do you guys all remember a product called Coolest Coolers? The
Mm-mm.
Coolest Cooler. It was a Kickstarter. It was the largest Kickstarter. I see a smile, whatnot. Anyway, he was out of Portland. Raised the most money for this cooler, this concept for a cooler that can strap things, had multiple speakers that you could connect to each other, had plates underneath the lid with a knife. Literally everything you want right there in a cooler. It had a strap that you could, like, if you wanted to take a blanket or anything down to the beach, had wide wheels so it would go down on the sand. And one of my kids that I coached, his dad was the owner of the company, and they raised the most amount of money. But I also got the ins and outs. But because I am who I am, I wound up with a cooler where not everybody who ordered one got one, because the minute that he had a deal where the coolers were being made, they went on strike, and when they came back, they were no longer the same price, and he needed more money. And so it was just kind of a concept. But how I found out about this is I believed in the product, bought the product, and when I got to the after party, sitting at the park, got my cooler, and the kid walks up and says, "That's my dad's company. I'm glad you got one." Like he's 5 years old, and he's like, "Not everybody got one, so I'm really glad you got one." But it's the relationships you build. To this day, we still stay in contact, and they're forever, right? It's when you stop putting effort into it, then that's when they'll die. But do they die? No, right? I would love to say that I sit here and stay in touch with all of my past clients, right? But it's hard to do because you go from one transaction to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and they're never going to call you. Why? Because they assume you're busy. They assume you're busy. That's why it's important for you to put lead generation in your, and even if this, try something tomorrow. Pick out your phone, say you're going to go get coffee next week every morning, right? Every afternoon, whenever you've got time in your schedule, but text 5 people. Hey, bud, just thinking about you. Want to go get some coffee or want to go golf? Get in front of people. Find a reason to get in front of people. And it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be, do something that you can afford. Something like that along those lines. But whenever you have, but the key is to get in front of people and just catch up. Right? What are you going to implement? Last question, because I know we're over, but I enjoy what I do here and absolutely love it. What are you going to put into your business tomorrow and beyond? Alexander, what are you going to put in your business?
Extra effort into lead generation and putting myself out there, and yeah.
No more secret agent.
Exactly. There you go. There you go.
No more secret agent, because of the fact that nobody teaches this. It's politically incorrect, and I apologize, but the drunk monkey, we used to call it drunk monkey, right? The thing on your thing that says you don't know enough, that you can't have conversations about it, that about real estate because you don't know enough, that you don't know what you're doing, so you're going to spend so much time gaining knowledge, but until you implement it, it doesn't matter. Put it to use. And really it's a conversation starter. It's just, hi, how are you? I've had great conversations with people and here's the thing, go back, this just triggered something in me. It doesn't matter if somebody signs in with their wrong name or whatnot. If you have a phone number, call it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? There's a great story. One of my mentors here, He goes, it doesn't matter. We get stuck with the fact that we have to know the person, and we really don't. We will all give a grocery store our name, phone number, email address to get their special coupons. They don't know who we are, but they're offering value. And that's what you want to build in your community, is offering value to your clients. Offer to give CMAs, practice, like, hey, I was thinking about it, and I was going through my people, and I thought, I know you rent. Can I ask you about that situation? And just kind of have conversations about it and educate them along the way. What's stopping you from buying a house right now? I'm kind of taking surveys to get a scope of the market, and I value your input. Come from gratitude, come from help. But I guarantee you they're where they're at because they don't know. And fear is asking the unknown. Okay. Ahas. What are you going to implement tomorrow, Mitch?
I would say, like Alexander said, it's just extra effort, more of everything, more phone calls, more conversations, more advertising for the open houses, more door knocking. It's more of everything, because it's kind of like I'm doing a little bit of everything, but I don't think it's enough of everything.
Okay, that's perfect. Perfect. And also, friend request me on Facebook. I'm old school. I'm older, so I don't really fall into the Instagram category. But I do have Instagram. I just don't use it as much as Facebook.
You can connect them, so that if you post on one, it goes on both.
I do have that on my business page for my Facebook. So yes, I do know that, and it's kind of it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's pictures and whatnot. My goal here, one of the things that I'm going to start educating, not just agents, but I also want to start educating the public. I want to start educating the public on how to buy a house, get rid of their fears, ask questions, become a place where it can be a resource, or it can be a resource to, hey, what's the next steps? Because they don't teach this. They don't teach this in high school. They don't teach this in college. They don't teach this anywhere.
There's a
You're
gal
already the experts.
There's a gal on YouTube that's doing really well with that. She's doing it in California, and I watched her before I went into all of this and learned a lot from her.
Yeah, and it's great. The more people you can follow, it's amazing. Okay, Senior, what are you going to add?
I'm going to focus more on my my scripts so that I can ask the right questions. Because like this morning, I introduced myself to somebody, but I couldn't tell them I was a real estate agent. But I have no problem introducing myself and shaking their hands. But I couldn't follow through telling them I'm a real estate agent.
This is where the Ford script can really do wonders for you. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Right?
Yes.
And I think once you get to occupation, they ask, what do you do? And all bets are off.
Oh, there you go. That's a good way to do it.
Uh-huh. Right? And it's like, okay, what brings you here today? Right? We're all here anyway. So whether we're having a cup of coffee or not, and really engagement, the engagement is there is just to, it helps to just talk to people. Feels good. Feels good. Get the limiting beliefs off your shoulders, and put your best foot forward. Have more conversations, because that's what this class is all about. Write down, who's your mechanic, who's your hairstylist, your barber, whatever, through many different aspects of your life on a daily basis. Whose business could use help? Business to business referral. I think that's fantastic. What if you were to walk into that restaurant? It's an idea for the future, right? What if you're walking in that restaurant and offer value to their employees and teach them how to buy a house? Bring them to their training room, right? Offer to teach his employees how to buy a house. Do you think they would be grateful and stay longer? Probably. Where can you provide value in this situation? Right? How do we get people to stay longer, provide value? These things just pop into my head. It's crazy. Do I implement? Not all the time, but they're just great ideas of what works. And ultimately, the best idea is the one you're going to implement. Right?
True.
Knowledge is power when it's put to use. Okay? All right, I've taken enough of your time. I appreciate each and every one of you. You've got my number. Make sure to write that down. I'm here for any questions. If I don't answer, I will probably another appointment. But I will get back to you as soon as possible. Just leave a message or shoot me a text. Right?
All right, Matt, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
was
Everybody
great,
go
Matt.
have a
Thank
great
Thanks so
day.
much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
Too.